Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We're going to get started here in a minute. Just make sure everybody has time to join. Hi, everyone. Looks like we've got a few more people joining us. Thanks for your patience. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's webinar. We are going to do a little bit of a deep dive and overview of our NUN Northern Ireland program. And we are so excited to cover some more information over our next little while together, hopefully answer some of the questions you have, and really give you the opportunity to know a little bit more about what it's like to be a student with our NUN Northern Ireland program. Again, we're so excited to have you, and hopefully this will be a really informative information session. We're going to go over the NUN program as a whole, what it is, what to expect as part of the NUN program. We're going to talk about what a day in the life is like for students who choose to go to Northern Ireland as their NUN program. We're going to talk about some of the academics and what to expect there as well, because that is such a big piece of this as an academic program. We're going to talk about looking ahead and some action steps you'll need to take over the coming weeks and months over the summer, what to expect in the fall, what to expect when you transition back to Boston in the following spring. And then at the end, there's going to be the opportunity to hear from some of our alumni ambassadors as well. So you'll get to hear directly from the students what their experience was like living and studying as part of the NUN Northern Ireland program. My name is Rachel Sandler. I am the Assistant Director for our NUN Northern Ireland program. And with me today, I also have Amanda Schneider. She is one of our program supervisors. And Amanda, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. It's so wonderful to meet you. My name is Amanda Schneider, and as Rachel said, I'm one of the program supervisors for the NUN program. So let's jump in and let's talk a little bit about what the NUN program is and the experience. So the NUN program is a study abroad program, and it's specifically for students in their very first year. So as a first year student coming to Northeastern, you will be surrounded by other students who are also first year students and participating in a global experience. You're going to really live and learn in close-knit cohorts of these students. So once you get to Belfast, which we will talk all about, you'll be grouped into groups called family groups, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. And then you will be able to participate in programs that we'll talk all about. And we're really making sure that students are able to make friends, have resources, while they are abroad with us. And then we help you transition back to Boston, and you're really prepared to have a global perspective that you're bringing back to Northeastern with you, which we always love and appreciate. So let's dive in and let's see what a day in the life really looks like when you are studying in Belfast. So you are studying at Queen's University, Belfast. Queen's is part of the Russell Group, so it is an institution that is held in really high regard, and it's absolutely gorgeous. As you can see from this photo, this is actually the Lanyon Building, one of the main buildings on campus. It was designed by Charles Lanyon, who's a famous architect across Northern Ireland. And as you can see, Belfast is really the center of art, culture, history, and you're surrounded by buildings as beautiful as this one and a lot more, which we'll talk about in a moment. But it was actually voted one of the friendliest cities in Europe, which we always love. So imagine yourself here, you might get the chance to study in this building. But then let's dive into what it's like to actually be in the city. So this building is actually Belfast City Hall. There are lots of people who will gather here, whether it's because it's a gorgeous day or maybe because you are going to the Christmas markets that come right around November, December, and they actually happen right in front of the City Hall building. But Belfast itself is the second safest city in the United Kingdom, so you can feel pretty safe when you are walking around the streets. Lots of friendly people, as we talked about before, and they always are hosting incredible events. So one of those events is actually the Street Art Festival. It won't happen while we are there in Northern Ireland, but it does happen over the summer. And so a lot of the street art changes year to year. And that was something that I really love to see and learn about while I was exploring Belfast. But while you're exploring, there's lots of green spaces that you can enjoy, one of which is actually right next to the Lanyon building. It is the Belfast Botanical Gardens, and you can walk through and take a little break between classes and enjoy some nature. But there are lots of parks across the city that you can enjoy as well. Now, what does housing look like while you are part of NUN Northern Ireland? So you will be living in what's called Elms Village. And we have coordinated housing that is just like the housing that other students studying at Queen's will be living in. So we have buildings that we have specifically for our students, and you will be separated into what is called a flat. So really, in this case, it's like a hallway, but in this hallway, you are going to have your own single room that you can see pictured on the screen, and you're going to have an ensuite bathroom. So the view of this room is actually as if you're standing in front of the window that would be in your room. You can see on your left would be where the twin bed is. There's also a closet that you would have on the other side of that little wall, and spaces where you can fit things like your suitcase. And then you also have that ensuite bathroom and a desk area that you are able to utilize for studying and anything that you might need. Now, you're also going to have access to a building within Elms Village called the Tree House. And the Tree House is the home of so many activities. The Queen staff actually runs a lot of activities every single day of the week out of the Tree House, but it's also a place where you can go play pool. You could even do karaoke, or that is where you'll be doing your laundry. So you'll bring your laundry just a few steps away from where you'll be living to the treehouse and be able to access those laundry machines. Now, while you're in your flat, you'll also have a common area and a kitchen. So each flat has its own kitchen and common area, and you can see a view of what the kitchen space really looks like. Lots of counter space to utilize to make food or to eat at, multiple ovens, 8 stovetops, multiple fridges that you would share with your flatmates as well. And then there's also a few couches and chairs, and then a TV that students like to utilize as well. So our students last year loved going for movie nights and having those in each of the kitchens. Now, in your kitchen, you're going to be given cutlery, all the plates, bowls, mugs that you would need, and a few pans. And then we do take our students to IKEA, so they're able to purchase any additional cookingware that they may need, but all the basics are there to get our students started so that they are able to cook for themselves. Now, they're also going to be in really close distance to a few different supermarkets. So every day they're going to pass a store called Spar, which is more of a convenience store, but I'm telling you, it has just about everything the normal grocery store has. I was always amazed when I went into Spar that I could always find what I needed, whether it was a cleaning product or a condiment that I wanted to have in my kitchen. But about 10 to 15 minutes walk away, they're able to access Tesco as well as Spar on a road called the Lisburn Road, super close. And these are both full grocery stores where students are able to get all the meat, produce, any sort of groceries that they may need for their cooking. Some students were even having groceries delivered, so that is an option for students. And then there are lots of cafes and restaurants nearby as well if students need a night off from cooking. Now, let's talk a little bit about programs. So, I mentioned that students will be in family groups, and the leader of each of those family groups is going to be one of our student success coordinators. Now, our coordinators are there to check in with students, make sure they have a resource to go to, and while they have one who is the leader of their family group, they're always able to speak with any of the coordinators that they may get to know while they are part of the program to ask them about resources. Now, these coordinators are planning programs for all of our students to enjoy. So, as students get to know them, then they're sharing what their interests are. So, we can really plan programs that are specific to what our students want to be doing. But we also want to make sure that they're really able to see the city through our programming. So, we want to take them to places like the zoo, have them enjoy the sports that are loved in the city, like going to a Giants game to watch hockey. If our students are more creative, we plan things like a pottery night, or if they're really competitive, a trivia night. And we really make sure that all of our students' interests are covered, but then they're also able to enjoy token gems of where they're studying. Now, they're also going to have a hot meal at a restaurant every month through our family dinners. So, their student success coordinator will plan a dinner specifically for their family group. And a lot of times, students will let their coordinators know the types of food that they love to eat, but also maybe restaurants that they really want to try and haven't been able to maybe get a reservation at or just haven't gotten to yet. So, this is a great way for students to explore the city and through food. So many of the options that students have loved in the past are Zen, Villa Italia, which Villa Italia looks really cool because you feel like you're on an Italian terrace because of the way they have it decorated on the inside. I absolutely love it in there. Then even places like Dumpling Library, or maybe you want some more authentic food to Belfast and you'd go somewhere like White's Tavern. But then we're also bringing traditions with us as part of this programming to bring Northeastern anywhere we are around the world. These traditions are celebrated at all of our NUN locations, no matter where you're studying. This is actually a picture of what Husky Day looked like 2 years ago in Belfast. We were celebrating the birthday of the university, 125 years. So we had to have party hats, of course, and then we were enjoying some donuts to celebrate as well, and of course, a husky. Sometimes students will even stuff a husky, which is always a beloved tradition as well. But we have lots of traditions that'll be celebrated, not just Husky Day. We'll be doing first day of school photos. We'll be sending postcards home. We talked about that love of competition. Students will participate in a scavenger hunt for Husky Hunt and go across the city solving clues. And then, of course, we have things like Halloween, Thanksgiving we'll bring with us, and then a final banquet to end our semester. Now, we're also taking the students on excursions so they can see the country that they are studying in. So this photo here is from our excursion to the Giants Causeway. Absolutely stunning. But in the past, we've also taken students to see an Ulster rugby game. And then we've also done an overnight to the city of Derry and really shown students what another main city in Northern Ireland looks like. Okay, so we've talked about so many fun details about what it's like to really study abroad, but let's take a moment to jump into the key piece of the program, as Rachel was talking about before, which is our academics. Now, while you're studying abroad, you are going to have a full semester worth of credits. So that means you're going to be taking 4 classes, and one of those classes is actually going to be what's called a cultural module. So you'll have the opportunity to learn about the history of Northern Ireland, and our professors are really going to walk you through different pieces. So you may have a few different options for what that culture module will look like, but it's really going to be geared towards your interests, but then also along with the history of Northern Ireland. Now, for the other classes that you'll take that are not culturally focused, you will be able to take classes that are part of your major. You'll be able to take classes that are part of New Path, as well as electives. Our academic integration and planning team has worked with the professors at Queens to make sure we're following the curriculum that the classes in Boston are following so that you have all the tools you need when you return to take those classes that you can build off of in your major and that you're not missing out on any of the key information. Now, another key point to remember is you're not taking these classes as pass fail. You are earning a letter grade in each of your classes, and that letter grade will be on your Northeastern transcript. So you will have these grades come back with you. They will go towards your GPA, and it's going to really allow you to fulfill your graduation requirements and stay right on track. If you want to see more about what the curriculum looks like, you can do that on our website. You go to nun.northeastern.edu, and then if you click on NUN Northern Ireland for the locations, you'll be able to check out the curriculum under our academics tab. Now, if you are concerned about any academic accommodations, if you have any accommodations that you receive now that you're hoping to receive while you're studying abroad, or if anything comes up where you may need an accommodation, please submit any documentation you have to Northeastern. You can do that now as an accepted student. You'll want to make sure that they have any documentation that you have so that once you do return to Boston, it's all set for you and the documentation is already in place. But you're also going to be submitting documentation to Queen's University Belfast. So after we've passed the May 1st date, once we're into the summer months, Queen's is going to email you with some paperwork that you need to fill out, some intake forms so that they can create your student account once you are going to be enrolling there. And then as part of that, any documentation that you have will want to be sent to them so that any accessibility services they can offer are there once you arrive. If anything changes or if you need to get any accommodations once you've already been in Belfast, then you will just need to let our staff know as soon as possible so that we can make sure that documentation is submitted properly and you're able to receive any services that you need. But the sooner you can do it, the better, so that everything is on track. More information will be given to you about this as we get further into the summer and as part of pre-departure orientation. But if you have documentation, this is something to start thinking about now so you're prepared. All right, now I'm going to switch it over to Rachel so she can talk to you about what's coming up next.
Thanks, Amanda. So I know you guys are all excited to get started and embark on this journey. I also know that it's a lot of information and a lot of questions that you guys might have over next steps and how best to prepare. And I really want to reassure you that we want to ensure that everyone feels like they are set up for success before they embark on this journey with Northeastern through the NUN program. We will have an orientation for you in the summer months that will be on our website once more information is available. We'll also send that out via email with instructions on how to sign up for both our in-person and online orientation events. We often joke that Northeastern NUN students are some of the best oriented students at the university because we do so much to make sure that you feel fully prepared to dive into this exciting new journey and have all of the information that you need. Also, in the spring and summer months, you'll have the opportunity to work with your academic advising team and your colleges to register for your classes. They'll sit down with you and talk about your degree plan and your goals, and review any potential AP credit that you might have coming in, and really help guide you in which classes are best to take while you're studying at Queen's University Belfast. An important consideration is, of course, immigration. You will be studying abroad. So, if you haven't done so already, make sure you have applied for your passport, or if you have a passport, it's really important that you double check to make sure that it's valid through July of 2026. Yes, July of 2026. Your passport has to be valid for 6 months after you return from Belfast. So you'll really want to make sure you're looking at that ahead of time. Some sites do have a visa process. We will be sharing guidance on the visa process over the next few weeks. That will be posted on our website. So for now, the main focus is your passport, and then in the coming weeks, we'll provide more information on the visa process for Belfast. And as Amanda was mentioning, make sure that if you need any accommodations, either academic or as part of your housing, submit that documentation both to the Northeastern Disability Services team as well as the Queen's Disability Office. And we'll be sure to help you through that and make sure that you get the guidance that you need. For students, you'll want to make sure that you're participating in events that are coming up. So much like we have our webinar today, we'll be having events over the summer, both in person and online. It's a great opportunity to get to know more about the program and where you'll be studying and living and exploring in the fall. So make sure that you check that out. It will always be listed in your application status check. If you haven't done so already, make sure that you've submitted your deposit. The deadline is May 1st. I mentioned your passport. And please be sure that you're checking your email on a regular basis. We send so much important information to your email, so be sure that you're checking that on a weekly basis at the very minimum, but we encourage you to check back every 2 or 3 days just because we will be sharing a lot of guidance and how to progress through your next steps in the coming months. And then again, once that visa guide is posted in April, you're going to want to make sure you review it and make sure you have all of the information you need to apply for a visa if that applies to you. For our parents and our families, make sure you discuss your expectations with your student. Talk through things like what is their budget going to look like? If they choose to travel while they're a part of the NUN program, what is that going to look like? How much do you want them to check in with you? This is going to look different for each parent, for each student. I know that you all will want to make sure you're hearing from your students regularly, but what does that mean? Is it a check-in every day, every couple days? So make sure you're talking through more than just budget, but also other expectations that you'll have while they're abroad. You'll also want to make sure you're checking in with them about the emails and the deadlines that we're going to be sending out. Some of our communications will be sent to both parents and students, and also some communications are coming more towards the students. This is really an opportunity for them to start getting their feel for being adults, but we also want to make sure that you're in communication with them about things that are coming down the pipeline. Um, and we also really encourage you to wait until your students have received their class schedules before planning your visit. We know that parents love to visit students on site, and this is something I love to see. It's really rewarding. You'll be able to see your student really as the expert on Belfast, and they'll be able to take you to their favorite coffee shop or their favorite museum or perhaps their favorite restaurant in the city. And it's really a wonderful opportunity to see the city of Belfast and the country of Northern Ireland through your students' eyes. But we want to make sure as well that you have a good understanding of when their midterms might take place, or if they've got a big project or examination due. Those are really important things to consider. A popular time, I will say, is Thanksgiving. We get asked that a lot. Students will have classes, but we see a lot of families choose to travel around that time. Also, families will come towards the end of the program after their student has finished final exams. But again, check in with your student once they have their class schedule if you are considering visiting them in Belfast.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Rachel. So now we're actually going to have our alumni ambassadors take a moment to answer some questions and share their stories with us. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and then we are going to have them introduce themselves. So if I could have Hannah, you start. Can you introduce yourself and then let everyone know your major?
Yeah, so hi everyone. I'm currently a freshman here at Northeastern, majoring in bio, minoring in business, and I am on the pre-med track.
I can go next. I'm Avery. I'm also a first year student. I was in the Explore program, so I was undecided last semester, but I am now a bioengineering and biochemistry major, also on the pre-med track.
Hi, my name is Anaya. I was originally a BNS Behavioral Neuroscience and Design combined major, but this semester coming back, I switched to just behavioral neuroscience and then I added a journalism minor.
Amazing. Thank you all so much. All right, so to get us started, Hannah, would you be able to tell us a bit about what housing was like and your experience living in Elms Village for everyone?
Right, so me, Anaya, and Avery, we actually all live together on the same flat, which is really nice. But as Amanda said before, you're going to be sharing a flat with around 10 or 11 students. Um, You're going to be sharing a kitchen, which everything, you have all the accommodations that you could need. Other than that, you will have the tree house, which is also mentioned, which has your laundry accommodations and also a lot of activities. And a lot of students actually rented out one of the kitchens in there because there's two kitchens that you can rent out to have even bigger dinners than what you wanted to host in your own kitchen. But typically you are going to only be with Northeastern students, but there was only one floor last semester when we were in Northern Ireland that also had real Irish QB students. But other than that, you're going to be rooming with only Northeastern students.
Fantastic. Thanks, Hannah. Avery, would you be able to jump in and tell us a bit about your experience cooking for yourself and maybe how you prepared to do that as well before you went to Belfast?
Yes, definitely. I think one of the things I was most worried about was cooking, just because most colleges have a meal plan, so as a first year student, you're not really worried about that. But I do think, although it did take a little bit of extra planning, it was just really great for me to be able to kind of get better at that time management and just taking care of myself in general. And I will say, if you don't know how to cook, don't worry. There's always going to be someone on your flat or on your floor who does know how to cook, and it's also a great bonding experience. But as for getting prepared and just getting ready to making your own meals, I would say starting now or over the summer, just kind of write down or make a mental note of the foods that you really like to eat, the foods that you enjoy, or the foods that you eat often. So things that were in like my daily rotation were things like rice or pasta or chicken, some vegetables, and just kind of knowing what you normally eat at home is really great once you're abroad and kind of on your own. When you go to the grocery store, you're not completely lost and you kind of know what to look for. Just practicing with some super simple recipes at home can be really helpful. You don't have to be making gourmet meals in your kitchen. It can be simple as long as it's good and you're staying healthy, but it really is just an adjustment period. You definitely can do it. I have faith in all of you guys. But yeah, getting started now and getting used to what you eat now can really help make that transition smoother once you get to Belfast.
Thank you so much, Avery. Anaya, could you talk a bit about what academics were like while you were studying at Queen's?
Yeah, so Queens is one of like a very like high ranked university. It was very an amazing opportunity to study there. So we all had four classes. One was one of the culture classes. I personally did the Belfast City culture, which was really cool because we got to go see like the peace walls. We got to go see a couple museums. We had a really fun teacher as well. He made class really enjoyable. Scott McKendry, shout out to him. But yeah, so that was really cool. And at your location, you're gonna have three options, I believe. And most of them are pretty similar with like minor differences. So don't worry about like missing out. You still get to see the city. It's really great. And then the other three classes were courses tailored towards my major. So I took like general chem, calc, and then another class tailored towards my major. The teachers were very good. The resources are very like readily available. We had PhD students and TAs on like ready for email or in person for office hours to meet up. And the professors were also available for office hours to meet up as well. And I think one thing that's important to note is that we didn't, at least for most of the classes, have like exams throughout the semester. There was just a final exam at the end. So I think that's really important to note. So just keep that in mind, when you're planning your studying and just grades, etc. But yeah, overall it was pretty great.
Thanks, Anaya. I know you were also pretty involved while you were living in Belfast and studying at Queen's. Could you talk a bit about the clubs and organizations and what you were involved in?
Yeah. So just like other universities, Queens has like clubs fairs in the beginning of the semester. So definitely great opportunity for you guys to come like explore and see what's there. They had a lot of sports teams, club teams, as well as like cultural student clubs. The ones that I was a part of. I joined the like MSA, the Islamic Society there. They had like some fun like culture nights and get-togethers, game nights. And then the other club that I was part of and most involved in was the university basketball team, which was definitely a really cool experience because I got to make friends, local friends, that are still there actually that I'm still in touch with. So it's just a really cool experience because for me, like sports has always been big. I got to travel with the team and play other universities. And we also had some like social events with both the men's basketball team and the women's basketball team, so that was also a really great way to meet people. And I think my personal favorite part of it was just that like I got to continue, playing the sport I love in a different country with new people, and it was just a really supportive environment. So I definitely encourage you, like, if you're feeling a little nervous, just go for it. I didn't have any NUN people with me on the team either, so that also made me a little bit nervous at first. But honestly, like I think just don't be afraid to put yourself out there. You're going to meet so many amazing people, both in NUN and at Queens. And I think just don't hesitate to try to, meet different kinds of people. So, yeah.
That's such great advice. Thank you, Anaya. Now, Hannah, what kind of things did you like to do outside of class, and what was your favorite part of living in Belfast?
So, Belfast was a super bustling city, and me and my friends would go out a lot to a lot of music venues. And, like when Amanda mentioned before, Belfast City Hall always had events going on. And I remember during Christmas time, they had a very big Christmas holiday food stall kind of going on. It was really cool. It was similar to the ones that they have in New York, and they had all the things that you would have at home, the hot chocolate, all of that. But Belfast itself is a really safe city, so even at super late nights, late times of the night, you are very safe. And our accommodation actually had security guards in the very front of our accommodation that checks your key fob, which will check you into your housing, which you'll get later, as well as your ID. So everything is super safe, and the city itself is also safe in general. So it was really nice way to bond with all the other students by attending all of these events.
Perfect. Now, Avery, what was your experience with the weather, and how did you kind of pack and prepare for that?
I think a lot of people know that the UK is sort of known for being a little gloomy and a little rainy. Um, I definitely did do some preparing ahead of time, so just kind of looking at what the weather's been like in past winters, and just seeing the rain was kind of a big factor. So do come prepared. It's not fun to be wet and cold all the time, but yeah, I definitely think I would say it rained a lot. Not every single day, but you should be prepared for some wet days. It did get a little bit cold, especially towards the end of our time there, so bring some warm clothing, make sure you stay warm. One thing, it is very windy out there. So even when it's raining, a lot of people don't carry umbrellas just because they might get flipped or carried away in the wind. So I recommend a good waterproof jacket will get you really far.
I 100% co-sign with the waterproof jacket. You will not regret having that at all. So the next couple questions I'm gonna have all three of you answer, but I would love to know about how your experience was transitioning back to Boston once you came back after your semester away. What was that like? How did you feel? Do you feel like it was an easy transition with a lot of support?
Yeah, so I can start on that. So I know there's a lot of misconceptions about not starting at a main campus for your first semester of your freshman year. Obviously, it's a big adjustment going anywhere other than your hometown for your freshman year of college. But Northeastern, the college itself, is really built where every student is supported to go in and out of Boston, New York, and lots of other locations. Students are always coming in and out of co-op and other global programs. So really, there's so many resources and opportunities to still connect with students all across campus in Boston, regardless where you start. And we actually have NUN events for reuniting with all of your other students all throughout the semester. I actually just went to one last weekend. But other than that, there are so many opportunities for you to still also get involved in Boston, even if you were in an abroad program for a semester. That was also one of my biggest concerns because I was thought like, oh, but like what if I'm behind if I come in and like I was abroad a semester, but that's a huge misconception. You have so many opportunities and resources like the club fair that they host. And I also rushed a pre-med frat that um, was also reaching out to other people on campus, and all of those resources are going to be available to you on campus once you come back.
Yeah, to piggyback off of what Hannah was saying, I think Northeastern itself is a pretty global school. So you, along with the other NUN sites, you're not going to be the only student who's starting in Boston in the spring semester. So I definitely wouldn't worry about kind of feeling singled out or left out. Like Hannah said, there's so many events and chances for you to get involved, like the club fair. So you will get a chance to see all the clubs that the campus has to offer and to join them. And then another great way is just talking to people. I know I talked to a lot of people and I found out they were also an NU in their first semester at a different location, or maybe they were in the Oakland campus or the London campus, so they were also just starting off in Boston, or people who are in Boston in the fall too. But people are always looking to make friends as well. So I think if you're able to take that first step and kind of just break that kind of awkwardness, it's really helpful and you can get pretty far by just talking to someone.
I think Hannah and Avery definitely covered it, in terms of like the events and the way like Northeastern, gives opportunity for NUN students to transition back into Boston life. So I guess maybe I'll just add like some personal things that helped me. So coming back, honestly, it actually wasn't as difficult as I thought. It was actually a pretty great transition, and I guess I'll consider myself lucky, but I've heard a lot of similar things from other people as well. For me personally, what I did was I wanted to get involved as soon as possible. So prior to coming back to Boston, I also like researched some like clubs or like organizations that I would be interested in. Like for me personally, I wanted to keep journalism, you know, kind of always there. It's definitely a hobby for me, but it was something I wanted to get more involved in on campus. So I looked up like the main publications, like Huntington News and like some of the magazine publications. So actually, I'm coming from a meeting right now, actually, for her campus, which is an all-female staff magazine, which is really cool, great community. And I definitely met a lot of people through that as they have like social events, like either we go get ice cream together or, coffee, study sessions, etc. So that was definitely one thing. So maybe looking up what sort of clubs that you find interesting, either in Greek life or other types of clubs or organizations. Additionally, I also started, consistently going to the gym a lot more here and look to join some club sports. I think I definitely wanted to carry that on from Queens. So I think that's also a really great way to meet people. And then lastly, I also joined some cultural student organizations, which I think is really great because for me personally, it was definitely something that I haven't been exposed to as much. And so meeting people from my community was really helpful in making friends. So yeah.
That's so fantastic. So now I'd love if each of you could think back to where you were about a year ago, trying to make your decision about, saying yes to Northeastern, saying yes to NU in Northern Ireland, and what advice or words of wisdom would you pass on to these students who are now making that decision and at that point?
I can start off on that. So I was actually originally waitlisted from Northeastern, and I was fully committed to another school before Northeastern accepted me during the summer. I would say put yourself out there. Going global first semester obviously isn't the typical experience for college freshmen, but it's completely changed the way I've seen a lot of things and my own individual growth for independence and responsibilities. And it also gave me great opportunities to travel around Europe. On the weekends, me and my friends would go to Italy for really cheap, and it was a great way to get culturally immersed.
Yeah, I think my first piece of advice would be to go for it. I mean, when else are you gonna have the chance to study your first semester abroad? I think for me personally, I think having the study abroad opportunity so early on when I'm not taking as difficult courses or I'm not so worried about my major requirements was really great because I'm obviously still very focused on academics, but I do still have the freedom to explore and explore a new part of the world. Another thing I would say is really do your research. For me, I really just wanted to know what I was getting into. So I spent a lot of time on the NUN website, looking at the different locations, the type of courses, what the locations were like. And that also just really helped me in making that decision to go abroad.
For me, Northeastern was definitely one of my top choices. And I actually was also waitlisted. But you'd think that it would have been an easy decision for me. I'm from San Francisco, so it's definitely far from Boston. So even though Northeastern was a top choice, it was definitely hard to actually like make that decision to commit because I was leaving home and going so far, especially going abroad for the first semester. But I think one of the biggest things that I really just I'm grateful for that. Sorry, I'm, like, trying to process. But one of the things I'm grateful for choosing Northeastern was that I think the first semester of college is hard for everybody regardless of where you go, but I think the fact that we did it abroad just enriched the experience overall, and I feel like I learned so much more than I would have if I did it in the States, and, I think it's definitely not for everyone, but I think it's something that everyone should explore or think about doing because I think there's just I don't know, I get, like, super excited when I talk about this, but there's just so much to learn and so much opportunity for growth in studying in a different country. So yeah, just consider that. Yeah.
Thank you all so much. Your insight and your stories were so fantastic. And I think they were definitely able to help give students an idea of what studying abroad as part of the NUN program would really look like. But now I actually have a few other things. Oh, so sorry. A few other things to go over. So, for students who have not selected their location yet, you are going to want to take a look at your available locations. Keep attending webinars like this one. We have webinars that are going over the next few days and a few next week as well. So if you have other questions, want to explore any other locations, be sure to check out our other webinars. But please keep in mind that our location selection is first come, first serve. So you will want to make sure that you make that decision once you are sure about where you want to go so that you can secure your spot. You'll keep in mind that you will also be guaranteed a spot in a compatible location. It may not be your first choice location depending on how long you wait, but as long as you deposit by May 1st or the deadline that is in your application status check, you will be guaranteed a compatible location with your major. And of course, if you have questions, please go check out the student experience on our Instagram. All of the ambassadors that you heard from participated in a takeover that happened last week. And so you can go in our highlights, see all of the amazing photos and stories that they shared as part of our student ambassador takeover. So you can follow us at the NUN program. And then we would love for you to stay in touch with us if you have any other questions we weren't able to answer today or anything that you think of after today's webinar. We would love if you gave us a call, sent us an email, and then of course, give us a follow on Instagram so we can continue to share our stories. But thank you so much for joining us for our webinar today, and we hope to see you soon.